We're back. We're back. This is our big panel for the morning. This is Scout Comics. We got Brian Silverbax, Charlie Stickney, and Eric Palicki. Jen King is rejoining us. I'm gonna go. I'm still shaking from getting to talk to Bob Layton. So why don't we start? Go around the circle. Everybody, tell everybody where they can find you on the social medias. We'll start at the very beginning and go from there. So why don't we start with Brian? I realize it may be different for everybody. So,
all right. Can you hear me first off?
Yeah, I can hear you great.
All right. So Brian Silverback, on social media, just anywhere you go.
Eric?
Oh, I'm Eric Palicki. Can you all hear me? I hope.
Yeah.
Yep. All right. Eric Palicki at .com or at Twitter or Instagram.
And I'm Charlie Stickney. You can find me at Charles Stickney on Twitter or at skycomics.com as well. And Jen, thank you for having us, and congratulations on this new venture. I think we're all really excited to be part of it, and it's already amazing from what I've seen earlier this morning.
Our entire goal is to get the love of comic books out there for everyone to be able to enjoy, have it be super accessible to even people that don't know anything about what the medium is like, take the mystery out of it. So we thought we'd start with like a huge amount, 36 hours of content, let them get a good idea of what it's like to be part of the family. So thank you guys for joining us. So I want to talk, let's see, who should I go to first? Eric, this is my first time meeting.
Yes.
Kyle talks to you all the time.
I'm all good, I hope.
Oh, yes, absolutely. I'm like super jealous that he lives close to you and can hang out and talk. So Atlantis isn't built for tourists. Has COVID changed the release schedule of it at all? Has it messed with it?
Well, thankfully, Atlantis Wasn't Built for Tourists was all in the can at the end of 2019. So, we were able to, aside from the production delays on the Diamond side, or rather the distribution delays, we were able to basically follow a monthly schedule once Scout was ready to put it out, which thankfully, they have been fantastic in making sure it's out and doing the promotion. So yeah, I have no complaints on that end.
So I know that you originally had done it all as a self-published. Did it come out as individual books then, or just as in its trade format?
Yeah, I put it out as a Kickstarter trade at the very beginning of everything is kind of blurring together, but at the end of 2020, or at the end of 2019, rather, it came out as a Kickstarter exclusive trade paperback. And then, having talked to Charlie and James, we ended up, being able to put it out through Scout.
So how did they find the material? Did they support the Kickstarter and be like, yes, absolutely, we must have this?
Yeah, and Charlie and I have been mutuals on social media for quite a few years, and the same with James. James's sister owns a comic store out here in Seattle where I live. So, small world that comics is. I was familiar with both of them, and thankfully they were familiar with my work previous to that. And it was just really, I'm glad that we were able to find some material that was, that I was happy to put out with Scout, and that Scout was happy to take from me.
So is this a storyline you've been kicking around for years, or just came to you as an inspiration and you were like, I got to get this down now, and it was a quick process?
No, this is something that I had been working on for a couple of years, and it took a couple of different shapes. Just really wanting to combine my love of Westerns and my love of samurai films and my love of H.P. Lovecraft, and, just put it onto a blender and see what happened.
What genre would you call your book? Because I kind of see it as a little bit of horror, sci-fi.
Yeah. I feel like it's action horror. It kind of fits into that sort of the same niche genre as like Buffy the Vampire Slayer or the television series Supernatural. I kind of, I feel like there's a lot of that DNA in the story.
Were you guys all surprised at the huge reception to go? That, I mean, I don't know about every comic shop, but number one, completely sold out from us very quickly, and even all the subsequent printings.
That's fantastic to hear. I was surprised. Charlie's shaking his head like he knew it was going to sell well from the get go. I've been really excited. You know, the sales are important as well as, and those are the most important. But you know, as well as, you know, the critical reception has been awesome too, and everyone's clamoring for more, which is always a good thing. Which also means that I should be working right now, but.
Thanks for taking time off for us. I know it's always been the hardest thing probably for creators to do conventions. This is a little more simple because you can just like take an hour out of your day and you don't have any travel time. But for conventions themselves, I know normally it can take an entire weekend out of your time with your craft and also with your family. Do you see these kinds of conventions now being virtual? Will that be something that's a lot easier for people to do, and that they'll be less likely to go to regular in-person conventions? Or you think it'll be everyone will want to be face-to-face?
I think that once the doors open, then it's going to be floodgates, and people are going to be really excited to have human interaction again. I know that I am, as a creator, really excited to get back out and interact with fans and colleagues and meet people. You know, it was really awesome to just watch, you know, Bob Layton just before us, because the Armor Wars Iron Man story was one of the first things I ever read in comics. So that was kind of an awesome thing to do. And that's not, while these experiences are great, and being able to do it, you know, wearing my pajamas is fantastic. There's just no substitute for face-to-face contact.
I feel the same way. And there's nothing like getting to go and, you know, having a creator hand you their craft, their favorite, and then be able to describe what their heart is for it. It's a different experience, and it's one you can put in your memory banks forever. We were talking about it earlier, that like the things that get handed to you from the actual people that create them are more special than the ones you just buy off the rack somewhere, because you have an emotional component to it.
Absolutely.
So, Eric, do you have any other, I know you're still in the middle of this project, but do you have any other, you just are chomping at the bit to start?
So I did finish Atlantis Wasn't Built for Tourists well, it's not really number 5, but it's going to be a one-shot, and it's going to be illustrated by Stephen Russell Black, who did the variant cover for Atlantis Wasn't Built for Tourists number 1. Can't figure out where my camera is. He's going to do the interiors. It's going to be his first sequential work, and he's pretty excited about it. That'll be coming mid 2021. And then I have some other non-scout projects in the works, which I'll talk about those more on social media.
Yeah, I've really enjoyed Mr. Black's artwork. I like seeing the progress of the pieces, and kind of like when I see the finished product, I'm like, wow. It was neat to see it, like just as the beginnings, like, and I love painted art. Painted art's my favorite kind. So I'm super thankful to have that. That was our variant. So I'm super thankful to have the variant for ourselves, because it speaks to me, that kind of painting. So
yeah, all of his variants have just been fantastic so far. So I'm excited to see you know, where he takes things generally, and then also when he and I collaborate.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I want to talk to Brian a little bit. Silverbacks, what's up?
Not a whole lot. I'm just trying to deal with the grandkids and all this stuff. So I don't know.
This is real life. This is real life. I love hearing the kids in the background.
I tried to mute it. I was like, hey, give me an hour. Give me an hour. But no.
Even better if they come pop in Pop-Pop's lap. That would work too.
That would be cool, but I've got a gate up, so they'd have to do some American Ninja stuff to get over it, to get down here.
There was no gate that could hold me when I was little, so they're probably at it.
No, so I mean, I'm having fun. I'm doing so much. Like I have to, but I'm afraid I'm going to forget stuff. that's kind of where I am.
I've had to start carrying around. This is my cure for that problem is I have to write everything because I got to the age where I thought I could remember everything, but then I'd be like going, did we have that conversation even? So now I have to write everything down. It's a sad state of affairs when you become 50.
Yeah, I'm almost there.
You get glasses, then you have to have a notebook.
I have glasses, but I only have to use my glasses when I draw because I realized I wasn't having a good time when I was drawing Loggerhead. Like everything kind of hurt. And I was like, what is this? And so I just thought that I was not getting to, I thought my skill set had come down and I was just accepting the fact that I was stinky at doing stuff. And then midway through doing the Star Bastard Loggerhead team up, I was with my brother at Big Lots and they have that little rack of like
readers.
Yeah. And I was like, all right, well, let's just see if any of these make a difference. So I put these glasses on. I was like, holy cow, I can see. I took those home. So towards the end of Star Bastard, you can see I got a little bit better I was like, oh, this is amazing. So now every time I draw, I put them on and just, it feels so much different.
I'm gonna have to go back and look at the pages and see if I can tell. So Brian, when you do, are you a practical artist or are you a digital artist primarily?
I have a hybrid method to where I'm not real good at sketching like in traditional means. So I like to do my layouts in a digital format, kind of just move pieces around to get them to where they need to be. And then I print them out in reverse through my 11x17 printer. I got this technique from Walter, who did Metal Shark Bro and all that. So I printed out reverse and then I put it on the light table and I just use that as my sketch from underneath of the piece of paper. Let me see if I can find I have a scout. So here it is. So here's the Frank on the Farm cover that I did, right? So
right.
It's messed up because I got dirty, but that's the layout that I would print out in reverse. And then I'll take it to the light table and then I can see through my piece of paper onto the other side. So that this is the draft, and then that's the final copy. And so that workflow does me pretty well. And then once I've got it traditionally inked and everything, I'll scan it back in, and then I'll go through and do any digital touch-ups. Like white is very hard to cut into black while you've got the ink on the page. So if I wanted to make like wispy hair or something, it's going to be easier for me to do that. Fill it in black over there, scan it in, and then digitally just use the eraser. And then now I've got these cool strands of hair that would have made a mess and just been difficult to do on the table. So I have a hybrid flow. I work both ways.
So inking, are you a pen inker, brush inker? What do you like?
I'm working on both. So I started with microns. That was my thing. And then I reached out to a friend of mine who's been in the business since like the image inception. So I reached out to Dan Fraga and I was like, hey, man, what are you using to ink? Because he lives around here. And he sent me a list of nibs and inks and stuff like that. So I tried using those. So now I work in a hybrid method of those. I'll do a lot of liner pen, and then I use a synthetic brush to get my big black areas because I need the blacks to be very rich so that when I scan them in, it doesn't come out looking gray.
Yep.
So everything's hybrid with me.
Do you have in your toolbox, do you have a toothbrush?
No, what I've done is those little brushes, you fill them up with ink and then you just hit your finger and it kind of all over the page.
That's way fancier than my method.
Well, it's not as messy. Like I needed to condense the amount of stuff that I take with me when I fly to do shows or something, because I can't bring all of my stuff. So if I've got one brush and a couple of pens, I should be good to do commissions.
That makes sense. So Loggerhead, it's a crazy character, man. And I love that crazy character.
I came up with Loggerhead because in my world that I was creating, I needed an Incredible Hulk style big guy that could do stuff. And I just wanted to come up with a character that would be fun to look at. So I was like, let's just make him a big turtle. And I thought that a snapping turtle looked very aggressive. And so I've kind of just, he's a misunderstood character because of his appearance, but he also looks like he could really do some damage, but he's got the heart of gold, but he's not quite educated. So I just wanted to have fun with it. And with the guidance of James Hike at Scout, like he was like, try to tell like a horror story with that character to like lure people in because he looks like a horror character, and then kind of softly expose the fact that he's more than that.
Yeah, everyone can tell you that I'm a sucker for a damaged character. They're my favorites because they're complex and they feel like more real, even if they look like a turtle. You feel like they feel more real and accessible.
A big turtle wearing dentures.
Yeah, I mean, the perfect characters are also like, those are the people you want to be, right? You want to be Captain America. But the broken ones, you're like going, yeah, that guy lives down the street. He probably is a superhero too. I just don't know.
Yeah, I did. I mean, I think with the name, like I called the dude Buford, like his real name is Buford and his buddies just call him Junior. Like to me, that feels like some down home Southern Louisiana. Part of the inspiration was I watched a lot of Swamp People. So I really enjoyed watching Swamp People on what is it, AMC. And I like the gator hunting and all that stuff. And I was like, well, I'm going to have a character that they would be friends with those guys.
Mm-hmm. Now I keep on seeing you create characters like Apex. Are those figuring into the Loggerheads universe?
They all occupy the same world. So the Kara Prime universe that I'm building, I don't want to take up too much time, guys, but like, so when I came up with a character, I thought to myself, like I go to Artist Alley and I see this guy has his booth and he's got Knife Man, and this guy's got his booth and he's got Fork Man. And I was like, well, what if I created my version of a character? So I created one, but I was like, well, he's going to have to be he's going to have his thing, and that might not appeal to everybody. So I was like, well, let me make a group of people. That way, if you don't like one character I created, maybe there's something else that I've got that works with you. And that's what led me to building this world that they all occupy. They don't all hold hands in every issue, but it allows me to tell a story like, oh, you got a love story, let's use these characters. You've got an action story, let's use these characters. But they all kind of feel, I wanted to make sure that I could touch as many people as possible with my characters instead of just focusing on, here's my one character, and if it's not for you, then I'm just not going to get any of your money.
Does it help you then creatively not to be like, I don't want to say bored because that's not a real word for what you would be with your own character, but like to give you a lot of different things to think about. Like if you're not writing Loggerhead, you're writing other characters, then you can be creatively stimulated more.
It's fun because you're not like, oh, here comes another ABC story that you're doing with the same character over and over. But I think I'm just so ignorant as to how to do things properly that I don't even know what the heck I'm doing. I'm just doing stuff and to see if people like it. Some people don't like it. I don't know the right way to do anything. I don't know the right way to draw properly. I don't know the right way to talk to people. I don't know the right way to write. None of the stuff I do feels correct, but I think it feels like I'm close. And I think that people, maybe my main goal is to have people learn from what I'm doing, and maybe they can do it the right way and see like, oh, he did it, but golly, he went the hard way of doing it. I'm just trying to have fun, man. I've got maybe 20 years left, so I'm ready to go. I'm ready to get some shit or get some stuff done.
I feel like what you're working toward and the way you present it is very genuine. I think people will gravitate towards you because you're very upfront about your process in your social media. That you're like, well, I don't know if this is any good, but here.
It's true. Like people have asked me, they're like, oh, Brian, you're really cool. When is your tutorials? And I'm like, I don't know enough to do a tutorial because I don't think I'm doing it the right way. And I certainly don't want to educate anybody else to the wrong way of doing something that is the least efficient way to get to the goal. So I appreciate people, but I will never do a tutorial. I don't know anything.
Well, what's kind of interesting is you saying that, and I've met a great many creators that they live with their stuff, right? So they know what their intentions were with it. So they see all the flaws. But we, as consumers of your craft, we only see what ends up on the page. And we fall in love with that, whatever that is. So for you, you're like, I don't want to teach people to do it the wrong way. But we're thinking we want to learn how to do whatever makes what ends up on the page because we like that.
And that's all. But there's no class for that. And Scout as a publisher, they're looking for people that are trying to express just stories. Like you might not have known what they got, the Soul Stream, the 15-year-old creator that's doing the Scout title. I promise you, she didn't read the How to Draw Comics the Marvel Way, or she just said, I'm bored in class and started working, and just through trial and error, through their own, these creators are making cool stuff. And Scout is one of the companies that's recognizing there are people that are just talented and driven and have a great thing that they're trying to offer somebody, but they may not have done it through the traditional means. And it's exciting. It's exciting to just keep throwing stuff against the wall and seeing what sticks, and encouraging other people to maybe take a similar journey. Like, that's kind of where I am. Like, I want to encourage anybody to be creative. You don't start off good.
No, there's like everyone I've ever talked to said, how do you get in? Like when you ask, how do you get into comics? It's like, if you're going to be an artist, you art every day. If you're going to be a writer, write every day.
Let's discount that a little. Let's add just a little bit of salt and pepper to that and say networking. Holy cow, is networking. Like, that's part of what takes place at the conventions that we get to kind of do virtually, but at the conventions, I can leave my table and I can go talk to Bob Lawton. You know what I'm saying? Like, I can talk to publisher A and publisher B, and I can talk to Scout, and I can see who's going. Like, there's so much about networking. You find the writer that is just looking for an artist that matches your stuff, or you're like networking, and not being a good person is a great thing to do.
Oh yeah. And I promise everybody, I'm coming back around I'm
sorry, dude. I'm so passionate about trying to make sure that people pursue their stuff, and stop saying, "Oh man, I should have." There's no reason that me at 45 years old just did one comic book that I've been dreaming about since 1990 something. That's crazy. Like, what took me so long to get here? So I don't want the next guy to do that. Charlie, tell him what's up.
There's something I really love about Scout Comics, okay? And one of the things that I love is that they embrace all of their creatives. And if they want to have a bigger role in the company, they're smart enough to recognize those folks and put them in the forefront. And one of them is Charlie Stickney. So, like, mad props to Scout for choosing the right projects, the right creators, and the right people to put on the team. I actually met Charlie through his book White Ash. I think even before Scout had picked it up, and we've been loving that book like crazy. I have in front of me my secret stash of things that no one can have, and that's one of them. My White Ash book. So it's hidden away, so no one can have it. So White Ash, I've talked to you before about Charlie and about how far forward in the storyline you have things created, and how long forward that goes. How long ago did you start with the process of creating White Ash, and how long did it take you to get to where you are now with like the 60 some odd chapters already in your brain ready to go?
Well, I'll just take one quick step back first, and I just want to say one of the great things about comics in the medium is the passion that Brian was just speaking about. That I feel like comics are such a personal expression of what we're doing, and unlike things like film or television, where you have hundreds of people collaborating together to bring a vision to the screen, where it gets diluted into different permutations. With comics, it's a direct expression of usually a writer, or in Brian's case, the writer and the artist bringing what means something to them to the page. And I think that's one of the things that makes comics really special. And then like Scout as a company, because I know in your store, people really understand some of the things that we're doing. But in general, Scout's been around for 5 years as a publishing company. But the last 2 to 3, we've really been taking off and going forward in 2021. We have a huge slate with a lot of titles, between 10 and 14 titles a month that are going to be coming out for the rest of this year. So if people who are tuning in haven't heard about Scout before, now is a good time to check out what we're doing. And you can go back and look at, great books that we've already done, like Atlantis Wasn't Built for Tourists or Loggerhead. But also going forward, we have a lot of amazing stuff. Now, White Ash, as you were speaking, yeah, I was a creator who came to Scout. And that's another great thing about Scout, is that the principals who are running the company are also creators. And so they're looking to find new creators, to find creator-owned projects in the vein of what Image does. But Image at this point has become a place where it's mostly bigger creators who have already done things in other in other companies, coming to Image with their creator-owned projects. So they're bringing an audience there. At Scout, we help break a lot of undiscovered talent. Like Seda Wolf, who is doing Soulstream. She is 17 now. She started out at 15, but she's doing this graphic novel. It's incredible that she wrote and illustrated herself. So for me, I was doing the series White Ash, and Scout had picked it up. And as we were, talking about how to market it and put it out into the world and doing outreach to comic book shops, there was a synergy between myself and James and Brendan and Don and David Myrne. And we realized that, maybe then, rather than just me being another creator at the company, it made sense for me to take on a role there. And so, starting in, I think it was end of June, early July, I became co-publisher over at Scout, which for me has been wonderful because it gives me opportunities to help lift up other creators that I've met. Like Eric said, we had actually met at San Diego Comic-Con in 2017, very briefly. And it's such a small universe, the comic world. And so people you meet at one convention where you're on one side of the table, all of a sudden you flip roles. And so I think what Brian was saying about being good people is really important, because it is a small community and people talk. So as you said, draw, write, do these things every day, but be a good person so people want to continue to work with you. Now, very briefly, back to my own work. Yeah, White Ash it's an urban fantasy. The quick logline I like to use is Romeo and Juliet meets Lord of the Rings in rural Pennsylvania. And it's an epic thing that I've scripted out for about 60 issues. And I think different people work different ways when they write. Some people like to, they have a big idea, but then they just sort of figure out where the story goes. I'm one of those people who likes to know everything about where I'm going, who the characters are. So I'll write up a 10-page document about who the characters were, their backstory. When it came to the world of White Ash, I have a history that goes back about 3,000 years that informs what's going on right now in White Ash, Pennsylvania. So I can see things in the first issue that I'm having to play out in the 25th issue. And so, that is a little bit risky, but I mean, what you do to mitigate some of that risk is you create story arcs. And I think, if you're a new creator coming in, the idea of doing a 20 or 60 page, series is insane, because, the economics don't always support that, and finding a publisher who will support that's very difficult. But if you have a giant story that you can break up into individual arcs that you hopefully have natural stopping points, you can keep telling that story as long as there's interest. And that's sort of my plan for a lot of the things that I do. And I think, Eric did that very effectively with Atlantis Wasn't Built for Tourists. It's an amazing story, but it also leaves it open for a lot of other stories going forward. And it's a great world that you want to keep inhabiting. And, so I think that's the method and the model that creators should be looking at, is tell a story, but have a bigger picture, and have your story come to a satisfying conclusion where you can continue telling stories, though, if there's the interest for it.
I think that all of the creators here have kind of rabid fan bases, both live for the shows that I do live and for my in-store customers. You can kind of see them popping up here as they're like giving you all you guys super love. Do you feel like these works are kind of your like first first works that people can fall in love with, or do you guys have things that you've created before that people might not know about that you can point them to? First.
Me?
Go ahead, Brian.
Well, okay.
Oh, okay. Yeah. As far as my stuff goes, it's all connected. So I just started with the Kara Prime stuff, and I will find a character and write it for a little bit and see what happens. And then if I want to create a new character, I'll add that into the universe and just kind of keep it all connected. Whereas some of the other stories that comic books do, it's like, here's a cool, this type of story. And then I want to write this type of story, and they're not so much connected. So I'm just trying to focus on keeping everything connected so that it just, for me, that feels fun. So that's what I'm doing.
Perfect. Eric, do you have anything that like a super indie small press that no one knows about, super secret? Give them the hookups.
Yeah, so I have I did 2 self-published graphic novels when I was first starting out. In print, I don't think they really exist anymore, but they're available on Comixology. Orphans was my very first attempt to do comics. Kind of a hey, look, there's Kyle telling me to talk about Orphans, which was, you know, sort of a love letter to my big influences, and trying to get sort of that aping the people that I admired in comics out of my system. It's sort of a sci-fi superhero adjacent book. The big influence there was Warren Ellis's Planetary, and also his Global Frequency. Those were the 2 books that really influenced Orphans. And that's available on Comixology. And then the second book was Red Angel Dragnet, which is another urban fantasy horror book. In my head, at least, Angel Dragnet takes place in the same universe as Atlantis Wasn't Built for Tourists. You know, that's another character I would love to revisit someday. But yeah, those were super indie. I self-published them, and then was able to get a little bit more visibility on them thanks to Comixology's Submit program, which allowed indie creators to put books online.
Well, it looks like it has enough fans, at least among the people that are watching right now, that maybe a print run might be in order. Charlie, what do you have? Do you have anything that's that you did early on that no one might know about?
Sure. I would also add that Eric did No Angel, which I also think is a fantastic book, which I really enjoyed. So people should pick that up. So I have gone through, like, I started out looking to do comics when I was in college, but ended up moving to LA to work in the film industry. So I've worked in a lot of different permutations of the entertainment industry. So, you know, in terms of things that people don't know that they might really enjoy, I helped create and produce a TV show called Horrible Histories, which was a cartoon series based on Terry Deary's graphic books. So there are 26 half hours that of this show. So if you have kids that are probably between 8 and, you know, maybe 7 to 11, there, you know, like I said, there's 26 half hours covering things from like the Rotten Romans to the Groovy Greeks. And it's a great cartoon in that South Park style of limited animation. And it's completely historical. We had a professor, and we had a college professor and a high school history professor both working with us and with Terry's books, Deary's books, to make sure that everything that we were doing was factually relevant. So it's a gory show filled with disgusting tidbits that kids will love, but it's also packed with history. So I'd say check that out. Also, one of the best things that I ever got to work on prior to comics was I produced a documentary on the competitive world of ragtime piano playing. It's called The Entertainers. So if you like ragtime piano playing, there's a contest that happens every year in Peoria, Illinois, where they bring in people. And so I worked with Michael Zimmer, who's the director, and I was the producer and the editor on that project. And it's just a fabulous documentary. It's on Amazon, I think, Prime, that you can see, called The Entertainers. You know, in terms of comics, like for me, it's just going forward. So I'm building out the White Ash universe. I have a Galarian one-shot coming out in early February. I have a mini series for that character that's in the works. And season 2 of White Ash is going to be coming out later this year. And as well as I'm also doing another series called The Game. So I have a lot in development, but the stuff in the past, it's it's more film or television for different audiences. But if either of those things sound good to you, check them out because they are great.
No lie, I did not know this connection. I am obsessed with Horrible Histories as a show. My favorite segment, of course, is like stupid deaths.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Just so great.
We were working with this. So this was like, there's been a couple of different permutations. The one I worked on was back around 2000. And so we were doing it with Scholastic. And when we were doing episodes like The Perilous Plagues, we would have all these dead bodies lying around in the background because people had died from the plague. And Scholastic would give us notes like, could you limit it to one dead body per shot on the screen? So like it was really an interesting give or take between the company that was currently doing Clifford and this gory history show and trying to find the middle ground where everyone was happy about the product we were making. But it's a really great cartoon for kids.
Yes. Let's see. I know that Kyle probably has some questions because I kind of co-opted this as a moderator. No, Scouts for me. Hidden talents. I know that you guys have got to have some of these totally outside the comic book world. Like, are you secretly tap dancers or what? Brian, what do you have? What is your secret talent?
All right, we're gonna have to go back to the I'm not good at much, but I like to try a bunch of stuff. So I don't have any like hidden talents, but I do. I think I am going to start doing improv because I've been told that I can be kind of funny. And I think that I'm pretty good on my feet as far as just my wit, which was partly because I was a police officer and you have to be very split decisions and commit to something because there's no time for hesitation. So I'm going to start doing improv and I hope that may lead to me getting more roles or more IMDb credits because then I'll start getting speaking parts and stuff like that and not just be in the background going, hey, would you like me to deliver this file to the guy in the background that's blurry? So moving forward, we're going to go with improv, but I've done all kinds of cool stuff.
No lie.
I'm pretty good at basketball.
Oh, basketball. You're a b-baller.
I was. I'm a little fat now, though.
You can b-ball when you're big? What are you talking about? No lie, Brian, I did not know that about you, that you used to be a police officer. And as a almost police officer myself, I went and did the police academy. I just found out I had low blood pressure, so I couldn't go all the way to the end. I did, 6 months of a 7-month police academy and then didn't get to be a police officer. I could feel it in you. It's so weird. We know it.
So I've actually been on set playing a police officer in the I think maybe last year. And they said, you look like a policeman. And I'm like, well, there's a reason that I signed up to take this role. But so I was doing police work while I was putting together Loggerhead and all that stuff. I was actively patrolling the hood, trying to come up with ideas that I wanted to write about. And then, here we are. No longer policing, always comicking.
Oh, man. Eric, what's your secret hidden talent?
Well, even before the COVID quarantine made cooks of us all, I do a lot in the kitchen. So I really enjoy cooking, baking.
Favorite food to make?
I make the best chili ever. So
ooh, those are fighting words. I don't know.
Yeah, I'll take on all comers when it comes to my chili. So
okay, so next convention it will be a comic book convention chili cook-off.
That sounds
great. I'm already writing the production notes. We're gonna make this into like a barbecue pitmasters.
I'm just gonna tell
comic
you,
book chili.
I was a cook in the Army for 6 years, so I know my way around a bowl of chili.
So, Brian, you can't make chili unless everything's powdered.
No, hey, just canned, not powdered.
That's gonna be a fragrant artist's alley by the end of the week.
Yeah, we're gonna have to tent it. Luckily, everybody's got tents.
I can see it now. Like everyone has at their booth at a con. They have like, here's your comic books and here's your chili sample. Mark which one you like the most. Charlie, what is your secret hidden talent?
I love eating chili. No, for me, this was something I did when I was a lot younger, but I used to do a lot of fencing, and I used to teach fencing to kids. I think for a lot of us who grew up on Star Wars, sword fighting was something that we wanted to do. So I got into foil fencing, and fenced a little bit in college, and was on the Junior Olympic circuit for a while. So that was something that I used to do when I was much younger and had a very different body.
Our shopping center is kind of like a big L, and so right I'm in like the pit of the L, and then right next to us is a fencing academy, actually owned and run by a fellow who was the Olympic coach this last Olympics. So I hear all the time that little like beep sound of them like touching.
Yeah.
I don't hear it anymore, probably because it's always going on. So if you hear that happen later on, that's what's going on. There's fencing going on right across.
Well, I do feel like there's a natural synergy between fencing and comics. So maybe it's not that surprising, but that was a hidden talent I at least used to have.
Oh yeah.
Jen, Jen, you have to go next. You have to tell everybody your secret talent.
I can secretly rap really well one song.
Ooh.
That's all I've got.
We're all waiting.
I'm not going to do it.
Does it involve checking out the hook while your DJ revolves it?
Actually, it's one of those that doesn't have any music or beat behind it. It's GMC's fastest run.
Okay.
Jen.
Mm-hmm. I know.
You're being egged on. You're being peer pressured from inside your own store.
I promise. I'm saving it in case Twisted asked me to do something stupid online. I will do it for that.
Let's see. Mine. Eric's heard me karaoke, so it's not really a secret talent. I guess I coded out. I did all the animations and stuff for this, and coded out the website. I guess that's my secret talent, but it's also not my day job, so it's weird. So it's not really a secret talent. I can cook. That's not really a secret talent because Eric already took it. I don't have any secret talent. You know what? I was a really good baseball and softball. I was a really good baseball and softball player until I had to retire. So I played junior Olympic level baseball, and then pro softball. Basically, I was one of those dudes who hits softball a really long way and pretends like he's trying, but all that stuff's fake. So corked bats, corked balls, it's all great. So I have some questions. And these are questions that are fun with groups of guys like this, with groups of people who all kind of work for the same publisher. And I'm going to put Charlie on the spot because it's going to be real interesting because of his role. What's it like working with a publisher who's a creator? Do they try and nitpick, or do they just let you guys go? How does that play out?
Well,
anybody.
I'll start. As publisher and creator, I'm hard on myself. But I think in general, we try to let creators do their thing, depending on the creator and the editor they're working with. And some editors are more hands-on, and some editors are, let the creators kind of just go. And it also depends on what stage the project's brought to us. If something is a pitch versus a finished book. And so if it's a finished book, it's how can we package this the best way to put it out? If it's a pitch, then is this project appropriate for us? Does this project need some finessing? And again, that just depends on the individual creator. But like my personal thought is if it's something that we're putting out, we want to support the creator, but we don't want to alter the vision of what they're doing. We want to help them make the best vision of what they're doing, or help them sell the thing that they've done the best way possible.
All right. Well, because he came with a real answer and not just jokes, we'll move on to just jokes. I've asked Eric this question before, so I'm going to let him go last so he can think of new answers.
Okay.
You have the ultimate pop culture garage. You get one car from all of pop culture and one spaceship from all of pop culture. What's in your garage? Brian's like, oh,
Yeah, I need more time for this. Like, holy cow!
I got it.
Go, Charlie.
For me, it's the TARDIS and the Back to the Future DeLorean.
Okay, I guess you've broken the game, coming up with 2 time machines. But okay, we'll give you the DeLorean.
One
and
goes
the
through
TARDIS.
time and space, and one is definitely a car. So
I got one.
Technically broke the game, but we're gonna give it to you. Judges rule it's okay. Ryan, what's up?
I want Ghost Rider's motorcycle. I think as far as like my vehicle would go. And then for space travel, it's not exactly a spaceship. I'll take Lobo's motorcycle so I can drive around in space. Or no, Cosmic Ghost Rider's motorcycle.
That is an answer I've not heard. Brian wants motorcycles exclusively.
Brian does not own a motorcycle.
There you go. Eric, what do you got, man?
Well, since Charlie's already got the DeLorean, I would take the Keaton Batmobile and the Millennium Falcon.
There you go. The Batmobile and the Millennium Falcon. Jen, Ultimate Nerd Garage. What's going in it?
I've been thinking about this for a long time, just in my own nerdness. Like, this is a no-brainer for me because I think about it all the time. I want the 007 Lotus, but the one that can also like turn into a submarine.
Mm-hmm.
I actually really want to buy that actual vehicle. I would have had it already, but it won't fit. My driveway's like this, and I can't. It's a low slung car. And then just for the power of it, the power of it, because I think it could beat everything, including the TARDIS, the Deep Horizon.
So my answer, I'll just tell you my answer because I've asked this question to hundreds of people, and I've never actually given my answer. So my spaceship is the Slave One. I like the fact that it's storable. Like, it's big when it comes out, and then it stores nicely in the overhead rack on my garage. And then my car is, of course, Speed Buggy from Hanna-Barbera.
Smart.
It was between that and the Fooey Mobile from Hong Kong Fooey, but I've decided that I want Speed Buggy. So that's my answer. So
I thought you were going to go with that Spider-Mobile, that Spider Dune Buggy. But
well, and then there's the big wheel from Spider-Man. Like, there's a lot of Spider-Man vehicles, but they all seem a little counterproductive to getting done what you need to get done.
Use
Like,
van, Spider-Man.
The big wheel, like, it's just somebody T-bones you, you're done. It's over. It just falls over. So, but no. So, dream collaborations. Everybody in the industry's got them. Who are you guys' dream collaborations? If you could literally put it out there in the ether, like today is the secret. Who is your guy, or who is your girl, or who is your person who you want to work with? Every question I ask, you got Brian like over here, steam coming out of his ears.
Man, that is anybody cool. Like, that's a big thing, man. I'm happy just to collaborate at the level I'm collaborating now. Like, this, to me, the fact that anybody would want to work with me is awesome. So let's pretend that, like, super cool heavyweights want to be cool with me. I think the relationship would be cooler than the actual product. But I would love to write a story and work with, I don't know, like Mark Silvestri. I like that. I like Arthur. You know what? Arthur Adams is going to be my answer.
Eric?
Frank Quitely. If I had to pick any artist working today to work with, it would be Frank Quitely.
I would buy that book. Knowing both of you guys, I would buy the crap out of that book. Charlie?
Okay, so I'm going to say a really sappy answer. Connor Hughes, who I'm working with right now, is the artist who I would pick first and foremost. I feel like he fits what I'm doing so well, and his storytelling is so good. Now, if I can't have Connor, and I had to have someone else who wasn't the artist I already get the pleasure of working with, you know, I think as a kid, you know, I grew up in that Jim Lee, Todd McFarlane era. So, like those were the first artists that I noticed. And then I went back to notice some other people. So I would either, want to do something with Todd McFarlane or Jim Lee, or actually, no, I'm going to change that answer. I would like Will Eisner to come back from the dead and draw something for me, because Will Eisner is probably, the most influential artist in terms of when I was learning about comics. And I got the pleasure of speaking with him at San Diego Comic-Con about 15 years ago, back before the panels were crazy. Maybe it was 20 years ago. And like I went in and there was almost no one there for the panel for Will Eisner. And he, after people left, it was just me and Will, and I talked to him for about 10 minutes. So having him draw something that I wrote, that's the real answer, Will Eisner.
So we've got like just a few minutes left here. So everybody go through and hit us with your social media links again, your handles, that kind of thing, so people can find you. If they head over to bit.ly/EXP guests, scrolling there at the bottom, there are links for all these guys there if you don't catch them now, but go ahead and give everybody their where they can find you. Since we started with Charlie the first time and Brian the second time, Eric, you're going first.
Sure. It's just at Eric Palicki on the socials, both Instagram and Twitter, and ericpalicki.com is my website.
All right, Brian?
Just go to silverbax.com. That's silverbax.com. Stay creative.
And I'm at Charles Stickney. Yeah, I'm at Charles Stickney on Twitter, which is the best place to find me and interact with me. But I also suggest you go to scoutcomics.com and sign up for the mailing list and just, get involved. We have so many amazing titles. Someone had asked what's coming out. You can see a bunch of what's coming out there. Get on the mailing list so you know when we have new things coming out. Go into your LCS, set up pulls, especially Gen Shop. There are amazing stores that support us. So go to your local comic book shop, see what we have on the shelf there, and support the stores.
All right. Last couple minutes, Scout or otherwise. And I know this is a Scout panel, so I don't want to be that guy. But Scout or otherwise, give us one project to look for you guys in the next 12 months. Charlie?
It's going to be a White Ash spinoff called Glarian. I'm working on that right now. You might see it coming out. Might do a little self-published version first to make sure that that there's an audience there before we bring it to Scout. But that's going to be coming out really soon. But there's also a one-shot coming out before that.
Brian,
I'm putting together a Carol Prime anthology project that hits Kickstarter April 13th, and there's 15 different artists and 15 different writers on this project.
Eric.
Much as I don't want to talk about non-Scout projects, my Atlantis Wasn't Built for Tourists collaborator, Wendell Cavalcanti, and I are doing a book at Ahoy Comics coming out in the summer called Blacksmith. It's a pun title, and I'm really excited about that.
All right, cool. So, like I said, we just want to give people a little taste. I know this is a Scout panel, so I wanted to get that out there. But let's talk about this for our last 5 minutes here. Scout is one of the leaders in the industry at getting books placed in Hollywood. I mean, they have more titles actively going into production and having deals made than anybody I've met so far or we've talked to. So what is that like from a creative standpoint? Do you start seeing things in that regard as you're writing, or is this what's that like adapting your work once it does get there?
We're not talking to me on this one.
Well,
as a big CG turtle is probably not in the works.
Hey, the giant turtle could happen. All right. I know animators who love to draw turtles.
Yes.
So let's. I mean, but when you look at creating the next issue of something, do you think about that possibility down the road, and does that influence the way you create?
So I have had a lot of meetings and calls about another of my projects lately, and nothing drives home the fact that I am a comic book creator more than sitting through those meetings. I want to make comics. And if someone else wants to do a TV show or a cartoon or a movie or anything else, I'm excited to see that. I'm excited for that to happen, if only because it gives me more resources and put more eyes on the comic books.
I think for me, from a process point of view, because I've written for animation, because I've written for film, when I'm approaching something, I'm approaching it as something that could work in a variety of mediums. So I do have a permutation that could be a TV show, that could be a film. But when I'm writing the comic, I'm focused on writing a comic version of it. And I think that's the important thing when you're developing something, making sure you write the right version for that. And but yeah, in general, Scout has a lot of reach in the multimedia world, and that's something you're going to see, I think, a lot more of in 2021.
Brian, I mean, in terms of process, with the potential out there for something to happen, do you think about it or no?
Not due to the specific Scout getting cool stuff to happen but I am very visual, and I did filmmaking for a while. So I already think of myself as 3-act plays, as what the angle is going to work. Like I picture my stories that I'm writing them as a movie as I'm writing them, and try to turn them into panels and to dialogue bubbles. But in my head, it's already a movie. I'm a movie guy. I watch movies a lot and have crying babies in my house. But so I'm always movie first in my head. Don't expect anything, but that's the way my thought. God.
So we're just about out of time, and Brian seems like he's completely out of time there. With somebody's not happy, they're not getting their attention. So one last time, guys, head over to bit.ly/EXP guests, where there are links for all of our great guests, so you can follow them there. There's also a link for Scout Comics there. I want to thank you guys for being here. I want to thank you guys for being some of the first to be like, we'll be there. We're in. Let's do this. When we didn't know what this thing was even called yet. So I want to thank you guys for that. And I think my screen is froze, so I don't even know if you can hear me.
Yeah,
But there you go. So we are gonna see these guys very much. We're gonna see them later. Thank you so much. We'll be back in just about a minute and a half with Dr. Chris Blanche and the gang from All Yeah Comics.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thanks,
Thank you, Jen.
guys.
Thank Carl.
Thank you so much for doing this.
Yeah.